Hey guys, welcome back to another exciting video tutorial. Today we are going to create a REST API, and in this REST API we are going to create our own custom request structure as well as response structure. So in previous video I talked about connected app and hitting some out of the box API. For example, this one which creates a record for your custom or standard object. You just need to pass some API fields and some values and it is going to create all the record. But what if you want to create multiple objects, or you want to return some specific response? Okay, so here we have to create some custom REST APIs. So I have created one custom REST API with endpoint as well. So the major advantage of this custom REST APIs is that you can create your own endpoint. So Mule or whoever the third-party system is going to hit this API to Salesforce, they won't have to change endpoints all the time. You can basically manage this on your Salesforce org. Okay, so here you can see I have this custom request structure. I can create any kind of request and I can pass it to Salesforce, and Salesforce can basically deserialize and get all this, basically read this request and convert this data into some records, or do some sockles and return that sockle into some response as well. So getting that specific custom request and sending some custom response, this is what we are going to learn today. Okay, so I'm going to teach you guys a very basic logic. So before going into the code, I'm going to show you this demo about this REST inbound API. Okay, so I have created one object here called hospital. Okay, and I'm going to create this hospital record now with this API, and you can see here I have two nodes. One is data, where all the data I want to insert into my record, and another is action. So here what I have done is I have built a logic. If this action is basically insert, okay, it is going to insert that record, and this action is basically update, then it is going to update that record, and I have given this specific identifier as contact number. Okay, so let's create first our record and then we update this using the same API. We don't have to basically change any endpoint here. Okay, so let's make it like YT hospital test, then let's give address as Pune. Let's make this as true. Number of employees, let's put 50. Let's say turnover, let's say 10,000. Let's give the contact number as any random number. Okay, and let's if I hit this API, if the send button, you can see your record is created, record ID. So I got this record ID. Let's see if this is the data that we pass. You can see I pass exactly YT hospital days, Pune, India, number of 50, turnover 10,000, and contact number. You can see this is the record that is created, and you can see we received a custom response as well. Now if I pass this action as update, okay, and let's say I change this turnover to something like 5,000. Let's say I change this number of employees to 100, and let's say I change this address from Pune to Mumbai, and let's say this YT hospital test to, let's say, SFDC hospital test. If I'm just changing all the values here. Okay, I'm clicking the send button, and you can see your hospital record is updated. Now you can see this change, this word is changed, so we are getting a different response instead the same one. Okay, so you can see if I just refresh this record, you can see this record has changed. So all the values that I wanted to update, these values are updated. So this is how you can basically use any external API and any external inbound API, and you can create records, you can update records, you can run some sockles and send all those details back in the response. So let's get into the code right now. So to achieve this, you have to use this REST resource annotation. Okay, so this is the example basically where I'm hitting this inbound, REST inbound. So to create the endpoint, basically you have to use your org URL here, then services apex REST, and then whatever the endpoint URL that you basically store in this URL mapping. So this URL mapping is very, very important. You have to mention your keyword here and then after the asterisk. So this is the endpoint that I'm setting here. This is my org name basically. Okay, this is my org URL, and after that I have the services apex REST. So this is going to be the common. Okay, and then you have REST inbound, which is basically my URL mapping. Okay, now here you have to declare this classes globally, and I have something called HTTP post here. So if I just check REST resource in Salesforce. Okay, So these are some basic methods. For example, HTTP delete, HTTP get, HTTP post. I have already explained this little bit, but again I'll explain you guys. So get is basically to get the information or to retrieve the information. It's not gonna update or delete or create any resources. Post is basically going to create resources or even update resources. Put is just going to update the resources. Patch is basically, it's like post and put together. Okay, the delete obviously is going to delete the resources. So here these are all the methods that we are going to use. So I have basically used this HTTP post method here, and when we use this HTTP post method, you can see we have something called REST context. Okay, this REST context is very, very important. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new Apex class right now. Okay, so let's create a new Apex class so I can show you guys a little bit better. And what we're going to do is we're going to create some debug logs as well, so I can basically show you guys. So I'm going to create another video where I'm going to explain you guys the best Salesforce extensions that you should be using after probably this video. Okay, so I am going to set some debug log as well, but let's create an Apex class right now. So let's make it REST API. Let's make it like version 3 for now. Okay, I already have version 2, so I'm just going to create version 3. And you see we have to basically denote this REST resource, and then we have to basically give this URL mapping. So here I'm just going to give REST inbound v2. Okay, I'm just gonna give REST inbound v2, or you can just give REST API, whatever the URL. Make sure it is unique basically. Then again I have to basically make sure I'm making this class as global. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy paste this for now. Okay, now once we do this, I'm going to make a method here which is basically HTTP post. Okay, and here let's put this method also as global static void, and let's make it as do post. You can give any name here. We have plenty of methods, so we're gonna use this as do post right now. Okay, I believe I have used that the same here as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some system.debug first. Okay, we just need to get the body first. So the main important factor actually that I want to show you guys is how you can actually retrieve this body and how you basically can send this response back. Okay, so we have something called REST. Okay, REST context. So let's get first body. Okay, so to get the body we have REST context dot, we have now this REST context is going to contain the request and response. So I have this request, then in this request I have basically I should have a request body. Okay, now this body will have a data type of blob which is not readable, so I have to convert this into toString. I'm just gonna convert this. I hope this is the same one. You can say REST context request body. So I'm going to convert this into request string, so I should be able to at least see what this body is. What is the body, what is the parameter that we are passing. Okay, so let me basically save this. We are not going to do anything right now, we are just going to see this debug statement. Okay, so I'm just gonna hit this API. So for this I'm just gonna clone this. Okay, let me clone this with duplicate. Let's rename this as YT custom REST API, and you see I have to basically mention this endpoint as well. Now I have already explained you guys how to use this Postman in the previous video. If you haven't watched this video, connected app basically to use with Postman, do watch that video. There should be link somewhere in the top, or you can check the link in the description or comment section as well. So I have this body as well here. I just want to see what are the parameters I'm getting in the body. I'm just gonna click this send button, and you can see we won't be having any response here. Okay, but we will have a debug log. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't know if I can have debug log here. You can see I have this debug log REST API. If I open this, okay, and if I just go here debug only, you will see we have this body, but I don't want to see it like this. I'm just gonna set up the debug logs for now. This is much easier to see. Or what I can do is I can basically right click and open this as open raw log. Okay, so if I go in this open raw log, you can see this is the body we have. Okay, but I have, guys, one of the best extensions for checking the debug logs is Apex Debugger. I'm gonna make a video definitely on this, and I'm just gonna set this debug log here minus. I'm gonna make another video on how to set up debug logs in Salesforce. Okay, so that how to set up and how to debug a lot of things in Apex as well. I'm gonna delete all the existing logs I have here. Now I'm gonna hit this API. Once I hit this API, there should be one debug log. So you can see this is the debug log that is present here. If I scroll down the bottom, so guys, you can see here we have our body, which is basically in system.debug statement. So this statement that we put here, okay, this is the data, this is the body that we are receiving from our API. So Salesforce is receiving the body that you are sending to the Postman. Now basically we have to get this data. So what we are going to do is we are going to create some wrappers. Now what is a wrapper? I'm going to create another video on this as well, but for now just follow what I'm telling you guys. So I've created one tool actually to create this JSON into Apex class. So we're going to use this. Okay, so I have this JSON to Apex here I have created. I'm just going to copy this. Okay, I'm just going to paste this. I'm just going to name it as request wrapper. Okay, I'm gonna submit this. I'm gonna copy this again. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just paste it. I'll just copy this and make sure it is these are the two classes. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm creating some classes. I have created this request wrapper class here. Okay, here I have this data, and this data again I have created another class which is basically which basically has all these data types here. Okay, now another thing is make sure whenever you are creating your own request structure, request wrapper classes, you need to define the data types. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to create another method as well which is going to parse this. Okay, so to parse I am creating this method, okay, which is basically going to return everything. Now I don't need this extra bracket here, you can see. So this method, what is going to happen here, we are basically deserializing our JSON. Okay, that is what we are doing. Now what I need to do is I just need to make sure that I need to create another variable here. For example, wrapper, I need to initialize this. Okay, new request wrapper, or I don't even have to do this actually. I can just call this here request wrapper dot parse is the method I have, and then I have this string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one variable string JSON string, and here I'm going to assign basically this value. What I'm doing is I'm basically converting all of my request body, which is basically JSON, into a string. Okay, now I just need to deserialize this string, which is basically going to give me the data. So what I need to do, what I'm gonna just check is I'm just gonna check the action here, and then I'm gonna check data.name. Okay, I just want to see if I'm able to use any variable after deserializing it, because we have the request wrapper already here. So if I just go to system.debug statement here, if I click on this wrapper and let's type wrapper.action maybe, or let's type action here, and you can see we have the request wrapper dot action. So request wrapper variable I have kept it as a wrapper here. So wrapper dot this action. Okay, it should basically print what is the action that I'm passing. Then again what I'm going to do is I'm gonna choose this data dot, so this data class is basically CLS underscore data, then I'm gonna select the name. Okay, so wrapper dot data dot name. I'm just gonna save this. So I have to basically update my debug log as well now to retrieve this, and what I'm gonna do is I have to basically give an extended duration here. So I'm just gonna make it 20 for now. Let's see, I don't want to generate too many logs, by the way. So I have my updated code here. I just want to see these two values from my body. Okay, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click this send button, and I should be able to get a debug log. You can see we have a debug log ready here. Now I'm just gonna search this action here. Now guys, you can see these values are present here. We have successfully deserialized our request. Now what I need to do is I just need to basically use these values and create some record. So to create a record, I already have created a code here, but I'm just gonna show you guys again. I have this code called hospitals. Okay, I'm just gonna go here in objects, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna create one hospital record. So let's make it hospital is equals to new hospital initiated, and hospital dot name is equals to I want. So one condition I'm just gonna put is if this wrapper dot action, okay, wrapper dot action is equals to first let's talk about insert first. Okay, so let's make it insert. Now usually we use this is equals to and in single quotes. Now here what is the best ideal code that you should be using is there is a method called string dot equals ignore case. Okay, this is the basically equals ignore case. So here this string is nothing but your wrapper dot action. Okay, this I'm going to select here, and in this basically here I'm just gonna mention my method, which is basically insert. Okay, now I'm just gonna create this if condition here. You can see this wrapper dot action equals ignore case insert. I believe I have used the same thing here as well. You can see this action dot equals ignore case, same thing. Again we have to basically before doing this I'm going to check if this is this contains any value or not. So to do that, okay, to do that we can basically write another method string dot is blank. Okay, now this is basically going to return true if it is blank. So I just need to make sure it is not blank here. So again I'm going to paste. So these are basically some best practices. So again I'm going to create another video to write a best practices as well. Okay, now what I have to do is I have to basically write some data record as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just run this API now and see if we have any record inserted. Now again I want to display the hospital record ID. So for this what we have to do is we have raise context.response we have to use. Now here I'm just gonna do one thing. This is basically like create a record. Best practice is to write some comments. Now here send response. So here what I'm gonna do is I'm going to basically create one response wrapper. Again we have to create a response wrapper, and that's how we are going to send a response properly here. So guys, we have to send a response now. So to send a response what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna declare one variable again here. Okay, comment out this debug statement. I'm going to again comment out, I'm gonna remove this all this debug statements basically because we don't need it. So this is the JSON string we used JSON. Let's make it request string, make it much better. Then again I'm going to do is I'm going to basically create a string as a response string. Okay, and I'm not going to declare anything here. So now in this response string what we're going to do is we are going to basically set some value. Okay, that value is going to be your hospital ID. So I have created this response string variable now, and in this variable, so this is the variable data I'm going to basically send to this response here, because right now this response is blank. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically assign some value. Response string is equals to, let's say, your record is created and the record ID is, okay, we are going to put this concatenate basically hospital.id. okay, and now we have to basically send a response. So to send a response we are again going to use the rest context dot response body. Okay, basically this will be again a blob. So blob dot value of again, and here we are going to pass a response string here. Okay, now again this we have to also mention that this will be a JSON format. Now what I'm going to do is I have declared a response string here, and in this response string I want to pass the record ID of this hospital that is basically created. Okay, so here we have the response string. What I'm going to do is inside this if condition only I am going to declare this string. I can actually declare this outside as well, but let's declare it for inside right now. And response string is equals to, let's say, your record is created with record ID will be your hospital dot id. Okay, so this is the response string we will have. Now we are supposed to send a response. Okay, so to send a response, we are going to use this rest context dot response here dot response body. Okay, will be, now again this response string is in string format. Okay, we have to basically make sure that this is this will be in a blob. Okay, so to convert into blob dot value of, and inside this I'm going to pass this response structure. Now again, basically we have to make sure that whatever the response we are passing should be in JSON format again. So for this we can basically use this in header. So there is this method. Okay, I need to basically declare this response dot add header. There's a method add header, and here I'm going to pass this content type as application slash JSON. So this will basically tell that okay, your response will be in JSON format. Okay, so I'm just gonna save this. Right now I haven't created any response structure or wrapper, so we won't be having any nodes there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just hit this API again. Okay, and it should be basically creating. You can see your record is created with record ID. This is just a plain simple message right now, but our record is definitely created, guys. So you can see a record is created. Let's say if I pass something like test hospital version 5 or version 3 API, let's put address as Chennai here, number of employees as 123, turnover as let's say 1000. Let's put this number as some just random number, and action as insert only. So let's do send button. You can see we have this record ID here as well. Okay, so this record ID I just pasted, and you can see our record is present literally. Now what I'm gonna try is I'm just gonna send this action as something else. So what I want to do is I just want to show an error response. So I'm just gonna use this else here, and you can see this response string here. I'm going to make sure that your please make sure the action is insert only. Okay, I'm just gonna make sure that it will basically show this error. Okay, I just want to show this error because I have put this in else block. So what is going to happen now there is some issue. We need to put this as well. So you can see if this first condition doesn't satisfy, then it will go into the else block. Okay, which is basically error. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass this as let's say add. Okay, I'm gonna send this, and you can see we receive this message, please make sure the action is insert only. So I just need to make sure that this action is insert only. Now again, what I can do a lot of validations here as well. I can even query this contact number, and I can see if the record is present, then it should not basically create this hospital record again. Okay, if the name is already present or contact number is present, then it should not. So I can run a sockle. So you can basically do any kind of validations here, any kind of Apex code logic here. That is the best thing. You have the total control over your API. Okay, so in the next video basically guys, I'm gonna talk about another complex thing, which is basically like handling multiple APIs, even sending some headers as well. We have this something called headers. In this header we can pass APIs. So let's say you have 10 different APIs, but we want to use the same single endpoint. How can you manage this? How can you create multiple request wrappers and without in the same class? I'm going to write a very modular class there and some framework which is going to be very helpful in your projects. So in this video, if I want to summarize, we just created a simple HTTP post method, and here we are creating this hospital record as well, just for demo purpose. We got a request from this rest context or request body. Okay, we converted this body into a string, and then we deserialize this using this parse method basically, which is basically deserializing from this wrapper. Okay, and once we deserialize our request structure, we got all the data, we inserted this data, and then we basically pass this data as well in the response as well. So to make sure you are basically passing the correct response, you have to make sure you add this add header and the content type as JSON, and in this response you have to basically pass this blob data value of this string, so it will be visible on your Postman or any external API. So whoever that external third party system is, if they are hitting this API with the correct authorization and the correct request structure, you are going to get these results in your Salesforce. So guys, now let's see how we can create your own custom response as well. So for response also, we will need to create a response wrapper and a method basically to serialize that JSON, because we are going to send JSON again. So I'm just gonna copy this request wrapper. Okay, this is all part of request structure or request section starts, or I'm just gonna put all these request section ends. Okay, and here response section starts and response section ends here. So I'm just gonna make all my data present here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create this as a response wrapper. Let's put this as, let's say, boolean status. If it is false or true, if it is success or failure, your record is created or not, then let's pass the string as message. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a method here. Okay, public static string get response. Okay, and in this basically we are going to pass boolean status. Okay, then string as message we are going to pass. Okay, and here what we're going to do is we are going to create an instance of this wrapper here. Okay, I'm just gonna name it as response wrapper, so ignore the naming conventions for now. Let's make this wrapper, and in this wrapper we are going to basically assign all these values. Now for this status, I'm going to assign this status that we are going to pass as a parameter here. Okay, now again in this response wrapper variable, I have to mention this message, which is basically going to pass, we are going to pass again as a parameter. Okay, and now I'm just going to return this, since the return type is string, as JSON.serialize. There is this method, okay, JSON.serialize, and in this I'm going to pass this wrapper. Okay, so let's make this better. Okay, now you can see we have our method ready. Okay, so here I'm going to pass these two parameters. Now this get response. Okay, so this I'm going to basically pass as this response string instead this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically create another variable here, boolean as status. Okay, and you can basically give any variable name, it's not a big deal. So here this status will be true because your record is created, and here in this else part basically your status will be false. Okay, because your record is not created, you said wrong action. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically create another variable, okay, which is basically string response. I hope I'm not using this anywhere else. So in this response I'm going to call this method get response here. Okay, and once I call it, I'm going to basically pass this as parameter. So first my parameter is boolean value, then I have this string value. Okay, so I just need to save this. Hopefully there are no errors here, and this should save. Okay, so this is saved. Now let's test it. I'm just gonna change this as YT hospital 2. Let's make it like Delhi this time. Let's put number of employees at some random name. Again, this is 5,000. Let's make this some random names. Again, you can see I'm passing this action as insert. So let's do one thing, let's pass this action as add first, or let's say update. Okay, and I want to see the error response first. So if I click the send button, I should have an error response. You can see, please make sure the action is insert only. Now this is not working fine. It should basically serialize, and now the thing is it's not working fine because it is still, we are still passing this response string as the response. Okay, we have to pass this response as this variable basically, we are passing incorrect now. So if I send this now, you can see we have a JSON here. So guys, this is the status and this is a message. These are the two nodes that we are basically returning. So we have the status as false and we have the message basically. Now let's pass this as insert here. Okay, so if I pass this as insert, I should have the status as basically success. Now you can see this invalid. Okay, so I have to basically reduce this number of employees. Let's reduce this, and you can see we have the status as true, which already I have defined here, and I have the message basically which already I have defined here as well. Let's open this record as well. If I open this record here, you can see this is basically getting stamped. So this is how you basically send the response. I'm going to explain again. I have created this response variable here. Before this I have created this response string and then status. Okay, I have created this wrapper where I have basically I'm mentioning all the response wrapper details I want to pass, all the nodes I want to pass. I'm going to pass the status and message. So I've created this status and message variables. I'm going to create an instance here, and then basically I'm assigning all the values, and then I'm returning this as a JSON.serialized string. Okay, this I'm going to return. So once I return this, it will go here. Okay, and we are already passing these values what we wanted to pass, and then this response basically we are converting into blob, and this is getting displayed here. That's how you basically create your own custom response. So that's it guys for today. It's literally 1 o'clock at my place right now. I am creating this video, and I have to create another video for framework as well, as I mentioned. If you really like this video, if you think you learned something new, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe as well. That motivates me a lot to make these videos, and definitely you guys should share this video with your freshers, with your new joiners. They are going to learn a lot as well from the upcoming session. So I'm gonna make sure this API series is on. I have to create videos on batch classes, asynchronous. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching this video.